Welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast here, June 13th, rocking about 7:30 a.m. in the morning. Got Casey Breyer with me, Tyler McGurk. I'm Darren Breyer, your host here on the Fatboy FadeAway Sports. A lot to get into this Sunday morning. We got NBA. We're going to get into the playoffs. We're kind of starting to hit the good part of the second round here. So we got a lot to talk about there. We got Stephen A. Smith calling Donovan Mitchell the best Jazz player of all time. We'll kind of discuss that a little bit, probably talk about the Bucks' lack of offense a little bit. And I want to get into also some baseball news and Jacob deGrom and just the freaking nature he's been this year, as well as the sticky situation going on in baseball. So we'll get into those things here on the podcast here today. But gentlemen, first, let's start out with how you guys are up to. Tyler, we'll start with you. How you doing, my friend? How was the week?
I'm all right. I had a little Twitter battle that we'll get into.
We will. Case, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Sunday morning, ready for a nice couple games of basketball here today. So
should be good. Yeah, I have we have a full house here. We got our friend Nikki over here and her kids. So we got a nice 6 kids here in this house. So we're having a lot of fun. The sleep is lacking, but we're still having a good time. We're going to do something again today over at my parents' house, so it'll be fun to do that with them. I think they're taking off tomorrow, so just getting as much in, right, with people that live. They're out of Missouri, so we don't see them very much for people that don't know. So we're just kind of kicking it with friends right now. Tyler, though, I'd be remiss if we didn't kind of talk about. I have to ask you the question here out of everything in this little kind of intro piece we do here. On Twitter, I'll give you credit. I'm more just, kind of just stay right in my lane, just stay right there, little meats and potatoes. And sometimes you like to get a little bit more opinionated. I can respect that. And that's not a bad thing.
I want to learn, broaden my horizons.
You want to broaden your horizon. And, you're like Shannon Sharp. You like to talk to people on Twitter. You like to respond. And so, I just kind of wanted to ask you about, your little Twitter thing there that kind of caught my attention this week, where you responded to somebody that posted on online, basically that they were kind of, I believe it was a woman, right? She was saying that she was marking on how
we don't use prefixes on this show. He, she, it doesn't matter what they were.
All right. Well, so anyways, he posted something on the fact that the men's World Series was in prime time based college World Series and the women's softball was in daytime. You wrote back, what should they do about it? What should they do? It kind of led to a long conversation there, basically, where you guys were battling it out with didn't seem to end very well there. So you want to clarify what was going on and what your stance is on what you meant by questioning, the prime time. Let's start there, and then we'll get into the rest of the conversation here.
I just was like, did they want them to switch it? Like, because they had equal? I just didn't or put them both on at primetime, one on ESPN too. I just asked a simple question that got replied with a lot of hate, a lot of name calling, a lot of real closed offness. It wasn't very open. I asked her to come on the podcast, have a conversation, and she told me to go suck it, basically. In a little, not even nicer terms.
Well, it's Jasmine Baker I see on Twitter here. I think my guess is, I was trying to read through the lines there. It seemed like they didn't appreciate you commenting on it because your lack of information, and you guys got to do a little. It stared to lead to
what lack of information though? They didn't give me any information. It started with the
College World Series, and then
educate me. So
it seemed to work your way down. And I can see where they're defensive, right? They're probably looking at you like, this guy doesn't even post about
a white male, so they hate me.
Already women's sports, and now he's asking us to do a top list of women. So that's probably where they're coming from. Of women's sports from 90, right? The best players from 97 to now, right? That's what you were trying to get them to do.
No, I was trying to say how they have grown and gotten better, like athletes have done in every aspect of it, and who are the best now.
I think you actually did want to learn. I do.
Yeah, I did want to learn.
And I think you also were
trying these people seem very educated.
Give a little. Now, were you trying to do any ruffling of the feathers at all? Was there any?
Maybe the first answer was the only ruffling of the feathers. What should they do? And then they took it offensively, and I stepped it back. I was like, okay, let me try and make this more. Let me educate myself. And then they were very closed off and very bitchy.
Oh, he had to go in there. Yeah, he goes
And I don't
there.
mean bitchy in like the sense of having a vagine. Just anybody
Casey,
can
you
be
gotta
one.
save him on this one. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I
think,
where were you guys when this argument was going on? I started getting tag team. I have to see every like that she gets from this stupid Jasmine lady or man, whatever she is.
well, I think that's the whole point on Twitter. You start going into stuff like this. You're asking for a little fire there. Like I said, why are you even giving them the time of day after a certain time?
What do you mean the time of day? I wanted to know something. I wanted to learn. Tell me something. Don't be closed off. That's a problem with people. They won't have a conversation. But no, talk about men before you talk about women. What type of precedent is that? I have to talk about a man like in the same way before I can move on to talking about a woman? That's ridiculous.
I think in both cases, I always Casey. I think I'll let you chime on this in the fact that I think women's sports, right? If we're just thinking about women's sports, I think it's going to be defensive against people that are passionate about it because they just feel so disrespected that I feel like anybody asking something that they don't feel like has credibility is my guess where that energy came from on that side. But that energy they brought also kind of crossed a personal line where it's like they kind of don't make their point anymore because they're kind of taking personal shots at you as well. But I did like when they said, basically get the beep out of here in the short form, and then they said respectfully.
With peace and love, suck my lady
that reminds
or man, whatever you are.
That reminds me of the great what's the race car movie there, Casey, with Will Ferrell?
Cars.
Talladega Nights.
Cars. Cars. That reminds me of the line in that movie for sure. Well, that's why.
Sounds like he's all hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Casey, haven't you got into it with a few people on Twitter before yet? Or no, not yet.
Nah, I mean, I have.
Not quite like Tyler's extent.
It's been cordial. I mean, at the end of the day, we always come to a
I didn't say one thing.
The problem, but I mean, I get where you're coming at. I love the passion with what you're coming at or with, and I think it's just it's
social media,
it's a tough situation because women's sports. I mean, the WNBA just had its 25th year, I believe, this year, and so but there's been a lot of progress, and they were it's kind of, you think about it now, and I'm collecting my thoughts, but the passion and the drive that they've had to go through I mean, a lot of people thought that league would fade out in 5 years. To be
real, to pick up a lot more momentum.
Probably should have if NBA didn't back it up all the time and pay for it.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to have a big,
you got to have a backing to get there, anyways. At first,
yeah. But now you look at the talent and just the athleticism and all the different sports going on, and
that's what I wanted to talk about is how it's gotten better. Let's raise this thing up. Come on, we'll talk about the WNBA. We've had Amanda did a whole show on women's sports.
You just didn't appreciate the defensiveness of the.
No, I think they hate all men. Any man who commented, especially a white male. They weren't going to take kindly at all.
Yeah, well, some people just don't see. Some people just want to hate to be to hate, but then there's just trying to stir the pot, so to speak. So I wasn't involved in this conversation, but I could tell definitely got underneath your skin.
It seemed like they thought Tyler was trying to stir the pot when I don't think Tyler was trying to stir the pot. He just has a very blunt way of asking the question. You know what I mean? So
but hey, if you think about it, though, they did get what they wanted because we're here talking about it on the podcast. So
that's true. That's true.
And 49 subscribers. We're going to get them a lot.
They will, and they will all appreciate this interesting conversation.
I'll post this part to Twitter.
All right, let's get on to some sports here. Let's get to the NBA here.
That was wow, a shot from Darren.
What?
Women's sports are not sports. That's what Darren said.
I did not say anything such.
I was like, wow, on the sports.
Don't get Miss Baker coming at me now. I don't need that right now. I don't need Miss Baker coming at me. All right, let's take a quick little just break right there. We'll be back with the NBA. All right, NBA segment here. Fatboy FadeAway Sports, second round heating up. I gotta be honest. I've had to watch most of the games on DVR because it's just hard to get home, and the East Coast game's hard to watch consistently through. I had to watch them on DVR, so it's kind of frustrating at times because I've already known the score a little bit. It's just not the same, but I'm still able to kind of watch through it and kind of see the action going on. Let's start with the Bucks Nets. That was the one it has the kind of the big name players in it. It's 2-1. Bucks were able to, I guess, steal one, but it looked like the Nets were about to steal one. So it's kind of a weird little finish there at the end. Holiday has a kind of a crafty little move at the end to get a layup. Bucks hold on with the defensive stand in a real 1990s fourth quarter there, 19-18, I believe. The Bucks outscored them, and they ended up winning 86-83 to make it at least a series again. We'll see what happens today. If the Bucks can tie it up. It's hard for me not to start with Giannis. I feel like he came out aggressive. He got a lot of shots early, but then he kind of fizzled there in the second half a little bit. Let's start there before we get to Durant. What do you guys make of Giannis? Case, I know you were active. You were watching the game a little bit. I just keep saying he needs to stay in the paint, and it's frustrating sometimes watching him from a basketball standpoint when he's out there shooting 5-3. So, give me quick thoughts on the Bucks and Nets series right now.
I just thought, first of all, just talking about Giannis, like, I tweeted out, he was tired of hearing all that smoke, all that bull. It's just like two-time MVP. He's like, he ain't going out like that,
No, he's got at least a game.
Down 2-0, he's like, yeah, just give me the rock early and like everybody just get the hell out the way. And then Chris Middleton finally showed up, and I mean, you need a Batman Robin to your Batman. It's about damn time. But Giannis, I thought he's the one that led the way. Just stuck to him early. NBA. You're gonna have runs, and I was impressed with the way he came out with that fire. That's what an MVP 2 times supposed to do. But I mean, Middleton, he has to show up for the Bucks to even be like in games. But I don't see how you can hold the Nets to 83 points or under 90 again. I mean, the Bucks, their offense is just so piss poor. Like it's just Budenholzer. I don't know. Their offense is just, they do not it's not complicated at all. Let's get the ball to Giannis. Everybody go 1-4 flat, and then once in a while pick and roll with Middleton, and it's not going to win you games. It's just not going to do it.
T, what do you think?
I think you mentioned, why is he taking 5 3-pointers? Or I think he took more than that. I think he went
but in the first half,
he went like 1 for 8. Why are you taking 8 3-pointers is the first thing. I think the thing Giannis needs to learn how to do is create his own post-ups. Like when he just know how to get his back to the bat, like, because he's a good enough dribbler. And then you say their offense is piss poor. They led the league in scoring. It's not like they can't score. It's just,
yeah, but there's a difference between playoff offense and regular season offense.
I mean, you're right. I mean, obviously, because they have 86 points.
Tyler, you're right. He shot 8 threes, just to clarify.
Yeah, he went 1 for 8.
Yeah.
And why are you taking 8 3-pointers? I don't care how open they are.
And 4 for 9.
Your best player,
line.
like, and 50% from the free throw line, airballing free throws. Like, come on, man.
And Usain Bolt runs a faster 100-meter dash than it takes Giannis to shoot a free throw. How are you getting free throws taken away from you?
He's like the modern day Karl Malone with the free throw.
How can it must be so in your head? I don't know.
I remember the Bulls in the finals. The fans would try to count to 10 as he was shooting the free throws.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that part. Count down 1 of the 2 from that.
When they called that violation, he was already at 13 seconds. Like, I mean, that's a long time.
They gave him he's like a starting pitcher now, or a relief pitcher. They take like 45 seconds between throws. I think the other thing with the Bucks Nets I wanted to real quick get into was Durant. I mean, just a beast, man. Just this clutchness. I mean, like he just had even the shot at the end, he just misses off the back iron. Like he's so tall, nobody's ever blocking a shot, for the most part. Actually, when I say most part, I mean 99% of the time. So and then his just timing now. He's like, I think Tyler, we tweeted or we texted during the week about, is he now the best player in the NBA? I think he is. I think LeBron this year at least showed the first signs of kind of slowing down a little bit. And he's now He's still
Still
younger a
great.
little bit.
I'm
Yeah,
not talking shit about LeBron either. It's just
we're not talking crap though. We're just saying if he's the best. I think he's now probably the best just because he's able, when they're on the court and healthy at this point, his impact is a little bit higher at this point, but doesn't take away from his series. What a game the other day from him. He's always just makes it interesting. Who do you guys like today?
I like the Nets. I want to get into the end of last game between the Bucks and on the Nets
Go.
perspective.
Go ahead.
Durant comes down, hits two mid-range jumpers, then hits a three to put him up three, and then doesn't see the ball until 2.3 seconds left. And I think Matt Nash has done a great job like coaching, but that can't happen. Like someone's gotta that's where you need a point guard, where Kyrie's more of that slasher to looking for his own shot.
Yeah, that's you got to know when
Bruce Brown shouldn't be taking 2 shots to ice the game or win the game.
Yeah, Durant's got to get a shot every time down the court.
Yeah, but that last play though with Bruce Brown, I mean, you can't really fault him. That's kind of like
he was open in the corner though. What's his name? Blake should have passed him the ball right away.
No, I just meant like the original inbound play kind of got away from Kyrie, and then Bruce Brown kind of picked it up and just went to the hoop. Like I think he panicked a little bit, thinking that there was a little bit less time, and threw up that left hand.
And he saw that lane. He did there was a lane there. He's just small.
Yeah.
He's small, but there was a lane, but he's just not big enough he wasn't big enough to make up the gap with the speed there. I would, like you said, I'm going to just beat this dead horse into submission until it actually happens. I mean, I agree with the individual post moves, but again, he's a freak of nature athletically. Just try to get him to catch the ball within 7 feet, whatever it
Giannis?
takes. Yeah, just get Giannis the ball at 7 feet. They're not going to single cover him. He's a pretty good passer. You'll get better looks. Your bench sucks. So your bench will be better if they're just spotting up, hitting shots. So let's just play a little bit more basic and not try to outscore the team. It's like what Denver's trying to do with Phoenix when we get into them. Doesn't make any sense. You're playing to the other team's strength. So, Tyler, you mentioned you got the Nets there today. I want to get to the next game. Case, just who do you got today winning? Do you think the Nets or do you think the Bucks tie it up?
I think the Nets just go 3-1. I think they do. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see the offense getting to that point. Coach Bud's got to go. I can't deal with it anymore. It's so frustrating.
Well, if the Bucks win again by scoring under 90 points, I will be very impressed. So that'll be good if that happens today. Tyler, you got anything else on the series? On this one?
Not. I mean, Durant's amazing.
Yes, that's what he keeps proving over and over. All right, let's get in just real quick. I want Philly, Atlanta. Green's hurt. Philly goes up 2-1. They destroy Atlanta. Embiid's back. He looks well. He doesn't look anything. Simmons guards Young. It's kind of amazing that they didn't do that in game 1, Philadelphia. But we talked about it last week. It was kind of they finally do it, and you put Simmons on Young, and now Young has to work so much harder to get good shots up. It's no shock that they're struggling a little bit more. And then nobody on Atlanta can guard Embiid. So they're going to be in trouble if Philadelphia is locked in on defense. And that Thibault guy, those are the type of guys I just I'm so into. But just they're all D, all heart, and they're just kind of but they're good at it. They're so good at it. It's just a rare skill nowadays. So it's kind of fun to watch. Curry's been pretty good too for the Sixers. You think Dallas would want that trade back?
A heartbeat. What a dumb trade.
Curry for Josh Richardson during the offseason. Yeah, Dallas needed shooting. That was not a smart trade.
Talk about the Kings messing up, man. You could have kept Bogdanovich and Curry.
We're talking about the Warriors. They could have had him. They have his brother, and he was on the team.
They could have been
you keep Damian Lee for all these years, but you couldn't keep Seth.
Yeah, well, that's his brother-in-law.
Yeah, that's his brother.
Well, I wonder. I always think about it must have just been so early in his career that it wasn't a roster spot. I don't know. There must have been something there. But anyways, Philadelphia, Atlanta, both of us, we all picked Philadelphia, I believe, last week.
I picked the Hawks.
You had the Hawks to win the series too?
Yeah, in 7.
You got the Hawks to win.
In 7. I'm not going to change. Yeah, I got the Hawks.
Are you still feeling good about it?
Not as much as I did after game 1. It's not looking good, but
because of Simmons on Young, he did good on him. He made him work a lot more. I don't know. His the problem with Simmons though is he's only taking 6 shots a game still. But
if you're shutting down the best player,
That's the best part that ever happened to him guarding Trae Young. Now he doesn't even have to worry about scoring. He never has, but now he does. He's like, oh, I'm guarding the best player. So now if anyone gives me crap about it or shit, whatever, he's like, well, I'm guarding the best player and locking him down as best as I can. So whatever, let Thibault and, Shake Milton and different guys that come off the bench, Curry, whatever. All right, let them drop those points. I'll get 4 points and we'll still win.
Speaking of Shake and Bake's been pretty good in the series. He basically won game 2 with that little run there at the end. He's been pretty good.
Like the microwave.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. If they can keep getting that from him, they have a decent chance against.
Man, a little Vinnie Johnson reference. I haven't heard that from him.
Yeah, it's good. A little good knowledge. Good knowledge there. Let's go to the point guard. Let's go to the one in Phoenix here who I saw a funny stat where it's like he was the first point guard to have. We're talking about Chris Paul here, to have 15 assists and no turnovers since 2010 when it was Chris Paul. Since 2008, which was Chris Paul. So it's like he was the guy that's had 15 assists and no turnovers all 3 times for the record. He's been pretty masterful in this series against the Nuggets. It can't be too shocking. The Nuggets are pretty, like we talked, you guys made the better point of it. I was kind of playing a little homer pick there at the Nuggets, but when you're throwing out Rivers as your backcourt along with, help me out.
Campanella.
Campazzo.
Paul's going to feel unstoppable at moments, right? He's just going to feel like these guys are on a string. I mean, he's played against Austin Rivers so many times, and when he was on the Clippers, he knows he owns that man like nothing.
And Houston.
And against Houston. So, I mean, he owns them. It's just, and then Booker's been amazing. Ayton's been showing a lot of really some good signs. Kind of feel a little bad for Denver that they're not rolling out Murray there, just kind of put up a better fight. But Casey Gordon, he looks so good at times, but remember our point a couple weeks ago about him making big money for not showing up. He can't shoot enough, so he's kind of frustrating me all on the Denver side there. So, Tyler, let's start with you on this one. I know this was your getting into. Let's start with you on the Phoenix-Denver side of it. What's your main points in it?
This was the call of my podcast life. I called the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference Finals at the beginning of the year. Got laughed at a little bit once they acquired Paul, but they just their game 2 stat line, like all the starters scored 15 points and they had like 2 bench players with like 12 and 11. And I was just like, this is just the perfect team for Chris Paul, where he doesn't have to be a scorer, but he can score when he needs to. He has a big to run at the basket. He has Booker to do all the scoring. And then he has shooters and Bridges and Saric and anyone else they want to run out there can shoot. So it's just like the perfect Phoenix Suns team for Chris Paul. And it's fun to watch. I really enjoy watching him play.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Johnson's good too. Their whole team's like, I told Darren this, I was like, I just wouldn't want to play against Chris Paul right now in this stage of his career. Like, he's just too hungry. He wants to win now. Like, this is like the team where he's like, finally, I don't have like guys like Blake Griffin and, that are like at my same stature. So they kind of like just blow me off and be like, whatever. Like, I don't care. Now he's like laying into these guys and like, and they're listening too. You can tell like the way the ball moves, like it's between them and the Jazz. I hope that is the series. I know the Clippers, we'll get into that just in a second here, but that ball movement, the way they play cohesively and defensively, like I'm like, man, this is when you go from that first round to the second round, you're like, this is why they're in the second round. Like just the way they move that ball and play together.
Hey, can I cut you off for a second though? Can I ask you about Denver though? They don't look like a second round playoff team though. Like the way right now, the way they're just like constructed. Like I feel like Phoenix is kind of getting a little bit of a cakewalk too. That's why it's hard for me to really judge Phoenix. Like I know Paul doesn't miss a shot going right ever. Like if he fades away going right within 15 feet, I don't think the man misses. But what do you think about Denver though? Like
how many times do you have to go over on the pick and roll against Chris Paul? Go under the damn screen. Like, I'm sorry. Like if he shoots a 3-pointer, I know he's efficient at it, but you can't let him have 15 footers like repeatedly, like 7 shots in a row. Like,
he's so unreal at that shot. Like he is so unreal. It's just like
he's the best right shooter there is. But I'm just saying that there's
a lot about that, but he's pretty unreal at that shot at least.
I think he is.
Well, he's not as unreal going left, so I can't say he's the best mid-range shooter of unreal. If we're gonna get nerdy basketball here, then that's where I gotta go with them.
Ever, I'm just saying, like right now, he's definitely owning that spot. Like every time it's pick and roll with Austin Rivers and Nikola Jokic can't come out, elbow free throw basically every single time.
I'm surprised they haven't put Gordon on Paul yet. That was I was thinking they might give that a chance a little bit more. Just put
not quick enough. He's long, but he's not as quick.
See, those are the things I would like. If I was Denver, I would definitely be pressing a lot more. I'd just be like, really, if you're gonna not with, I'd just be pressing with the point guard more, not the whole team, with the point guard more on the ball, and just put more pressure on him, make Paul try to wear him down a little bit more, and just make him have to work to get to his spots as much as possible.
Jokic is doing everything he can. I felt so bad. I mean, 32, 20, and 10. I mean, you can't do a whole lot more than that.
Tyler, you rolled your eyes when I made that comment.
Well, you said earlier that you wanted that they're trying to outscore him playing into Phoenix's hands, but then you said bring him back, like just a point guard, and that made more sense. I didn't see you going with that.
Yeah, I don't want Jokic at half court ready to press.
Yeah, I was like, that's a terrible idea if you want a full court press this team. But yeah, just putting more pressure and trying to wear down Paul at 35 years of age, or 36 maybe.
Yeah,
probably a smart idea.
Jokic does win the MVP as well. First Nugget to win it. I had to point that out before we move on from the series. And maybe the last Nugget to ever win it. Maybe Aaron Gordon next year will get it. No.
Well, how impressive is Aiton then? I mean, he D's him up. I mean, yeah, he still gets his numbers, but he's not as efficient as his athleticism is freakish. I forgot how I saw him go up and get a board I was like, who the heck was that? That was
impressive
the way he jumped.
He's really starting. He looks like he's fully healthy.
He's making a lot of money in this series.
Yeah, he looks healthy for the first time too. That's what I kind of noticed from it. Let's take a quick little last break there with the NBA part, and then we'll come back with. I think we have a little bit more to say about the Jazz, Clippers. We have a little bit to get into there. All right, Jazz Clippers. This series has been pretty good. The last game wasn't entertaining, but it's kind of got a little chippiness to it. The crowd in Utah is electric right now. They're fully vaccinated crowd, as I always say, and they're into it. And
they're in full throat.
They're in full throat. Mitchell's been, I mean, nothing but just super. I mean, he's been unreal. So what's his nickname? Spider, right? That's his nickname. So
Spider. No.
Spider. Sorry, I made that too white there. That was probably not that one there. So.
Might want to beat that one out.
What's wrong about that? So, anyways, Mitchell's been really good. Then Kawhi's always been just Kawhi in last game. George played really well in game 3 as well. It's hard. I got to start with Stephen A's comment though on Mitchell, saying that after his game, saying he's the best Jazz player ever. I mean, what kind of hot take is that? Before we get into the series, it's got to be one of the more asinine things I've ever heard. Right? Am I on?
Nah, I think it's just a lot of hot air where you're just trying to come up with something to talk about, and gives people get all pissed off about it, because as he would say, that's just blasphemous. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, Karl Malone, the second all-time leading scorer behind Kareem. Like, come on. John Stockton, the all-time steals and assists, like, leader of all time. I mean, have we even got on Darren Williams' status yet? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know Mitchell is amazing, but I don't know if he even reached that status yet. So, I mean,
even Carlos Boozer. I'm just kidding.
Let's not get out of control there. But
no, you're right. Like, he has the potential. And that was I think I even brought up Darren Williams. He
hasn't even been to a finals. The Malone and Stockton went back-to-back finals. They just happened to run into that guy.
Did he blow a 3-1 series last year too to the Nuggets? Do I remember?
Yeah.
Tyler, you have any thoughts on it then too?
Yeah, we didn't even bring up Mark Eaton. He leads the NBA in blocks all the time. I didn't realize Jazz were so high up in all these like all-time stats. But yeah, it's a crazy thing to say. After 2 games of scoring 40 points is better than John Stockton and Karl Malone. Get the hell out of here. What do you mean he's better than them?
Like I said, I think we have to come up with content. You have to come up with as much content as he does. Sometimes you just get caught in the moment, and you probably don't sleep very well. And that's just one of those comments that is not a smart one on that part. So I had to get in there. But anyways, let's get back to the series a little bit. Who do you guys got to finish it out? I've had the Clippers the whole way. I still feel like I feel like they're going to win game 4. I still think they can win the series. I feel like the Jazz are definitely deeper but I think the Clippers kind of have figured out who they were. I think they understand their small ball lineup a little bit more. I'm kind of surprised Rondo's not playing a little bit more. But maybe it's not always a bad thing. Maybe they just want to get the ball in Leonard's hand a little bit more as well, instead of making that extra pass. So I don't know. Who do you guys got to finish it off, Jazz or Clippers?
No, I'm sticking with the Clippers. Donovan Mitchell's banged up. Conley's banged up. And Kawhi is the best player in the series. So
Grizzlies fans are probably like, "Oh, we understand the Jazz fans now." Yeah, he's always right there.
I'm gonna take the Jazz. It's gonna be tough. I think it might even go 7. To be real, I think Utah's home court advantage is actually pretty key in this situation. The one big guy I thought about for the Clippers that's really stepping up is Reggie Jackson. He's playing out of his mind. I know Paul George had a hell of a game, but Reggie Jackson's been besides last night, might have been their second best player throughout this series anyways.
He's always a funny player to me because he's like the type of player where I'm like, if I was like a good player, like maybe where I felt like I was a little better than Reggie Jackson, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to play with Reggie Jackson because he sometimes thinks he's better. You know what I mean? Like, but then he gets hot. And you're like, oh, I like this part of Reggie Jackson. I don't want that Reggie. Like,
he has a little bit higher IQ of like a Dion Waiters.
Yes, I would say yes. He's a little bit higher.
Like he gets hot, and then like all of a sudden you're like, but he knows when to stop shooting. Because he's got Kawhi and Paul George, so I mean that does make a difference.
Well, sometimes he goes bad, Reggie, and he still shoots a little too much. That's my
I don't
point.
think he knows when to stop. I remember when he got traded from the Thunder, Russell Westbrook was like, "Thank God!" Like he
that was
hated
such a
playing
horrible
with him.
fit.
Yeah, they hated him. He looked. I think Savage said it on Twitter. He looks like my NBA 2K player, like that you create with all the accessories. He has like a headband, sunglasses.
He does
all these like crazy looking like looks.
And then he gets hot every once in a while too. Yeah, you're right. Like, he has like this. He has potential. He definitely helped them win like a couple games. He helped them stay in game 1.
He helped them win the last series against Dallas when Paul
George.
For
sure. You got to point that out too. So I don't know. I just think this has been the most entertaining series so far, and I think it's gonna even surpass the Nets Bucks. In my opinion, I think it's going to end up being the best series game by game. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way. I think I'd expect the Jazz to fight a little harder in game 4. So hopefully the Clippers can respond and win just to make it a fun series. So any thoughts on that before we move on?
I just love how people always say, oh, the NBA is going down. LeBron's not in. Steph Curry's not in. It's like there's always a superstar. Everyone's got superstars. Like,
oh, you're right about that. Every team, like right now, and they're young too, right?
Oh yeah, I mean Devin Booker, Giannis, I mean Kawhi, Paul George. I mean the list goes on. Donovan
Paul
Mitchell.
George, don't give me Paul George.
I said stop. He's on the cusp. If he keeps doing what he did in Game 3, then I'll elevate him to that level if he gets past the Jazz. Yeah. He plays like he did last night. But I mean, each team's got one. So I think the NBA's in good hands.
No, it is for sure.
A quick fact on that: the NBA was down 45% ratings this season.
Tyler, this is what you said. See, that's a negative comment right there. It's passive aggressive, right there.
It's a comment. It is going. It has been suffering.
I'm taking it sensitively, so you need to sit there. My last NBA thing. We'll move on here. The 8 teams left. Only 3 of them have actually won a championship. The Sixers, the last time they won was 1983. The Hawks, like 1959. And I want to say the Bucks, like 1971, something like that. So one of these teams will either have a championship for the first time in a very long time, or somebody's going to win one for the first time. So I think that's something to keep an eye on moving forward here. So when we take our last break here, we'll be back with another segment here. Last segment here. We're going to do part 2 tonight. We're going to do a little baseball segment later tonight after all the games wrap up this week. I think we're going to start doing that more, try to do something like that. Casey might sit those ones out, but me and Tyler are really into baseball. So I think we're going to start doing a little baseball podcast, a little short maybe video here.
As I'm wearing my A's shirt.
Casey, you like the A's. You just don't follow the rest of the league as well. That's probably the best way to put it. So me and Tyler are going to try to be good with the audience there and try to give you guys some good baseball insight later tonight. So let's end the podcast with the state of boxing. And I have to get into it because I saw the UFC fights were last night. But I got to start with, my angle I want to get into is the celebrity boxing angle here. And the Paul Mayweather thing that kind of caught my attention was not necessarily the fight itself, but with boxing being so open with like no commissioner really or any like structure to the sport, is that the way boxing goes? Like, is it like, I just want to see like this guy versus this guy. It doesn't even matter what your weight class is anymore. It doesn't matter if you're not even a professional boxer. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't have judges anymore. Like, it just seems like those are the ones that are getting the most views. I don't think the hardcore boxing fans appreciate it as much because they like the technical part of it. But like, there's like Lamar Odom's fighting Aaron Carter. And I'm just like, is this real? Like, he's 6'10", and Aaron Carter's taking shots at his face. They're wearing headgear. People are still paying $30 to see this garbage. And Jose Canseco's fighting somebody on Barstool Sports. What on this other side, you got real UFC fighters and real boxers going at it. So, but boxing is just in this weird spot to me. So you guys watch it more than me. So I'm just curious to get your thoughts on like what I think, where I think like boxing's kind of headed down a real interesting path.
You didn't even bring up the big TikTokers versus YouTube event last night.
Well, I didn't bring that up, but yeah, continue on it.
But yeah, it's just insane. I think it's good for boxing as a whole, but it's not good for professional boxers. I think it's like good to get boxing out there, and I think that's how I think there's gonna be like good boxers like the Canelos, the Bud Crawfords, and the Errol Spences, like where you're gonna have those fights that people will want to see when they actually fight each other. But I think you're also going to have these exhibitions where you're just getting names who can sell a pay-per-view, and they might sell more than these good fighters just because they know how to promote and get their content out and sell a fight. So, like, I think it's just an interesting. Boxing's in a tough spot where they have to find fans, but I don't know how the professional boxers, I think, need to create content before fights, sell their fights better.
I've seen a couple times you've tweeted at Max Kellerman about the Jake Paul thing, like. What was
and Logan Paul. I always ask him why is Jake Paul and Logan Paul your biggest pay-per-view? Like this year, I bet their top 3 pay-per-views have all included them in them.
I think that, Casey, let's get into your side of it. You're more the boxing fan. You definitely know way more of the boxers. So like, I'm curious to get your thoughts of like these celebrity matches. Are you into them? Do you think they're good ideas for the game? And like, does it help boxing or at all? Like, or I kind of have this idea with boxing, like, why don't we just do these mismatches, like, too? Like, this guy can fight this guy. Why does the weight division matter as much anymore? Maybe that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
The weight division.
Think of the celebrity thing first, though, kind of.
I'll go first on the weight, though. You have to have some weight. I mean, you can't have someone 220 against someone 150. That's not even fair.
But you have like Mayweather fighting.
Well, hold on. You can do it if it's an exhibition, and the pro is if you have Mayweather at 155 and Logan at 220.
That's what
you can't have a 220 professional fighter fight a 150-pound amateur. Like, that guy would die. That's why there's weight divisions.
Yeah, so Keith, I more want to get your thoughts on like the celebrity angle first of it. Like, what do you think of that part of it? Like that part growing the sport.
Did they already create that show called Celebrity Deathmatch? Like, I mean, that was on a long time ago. Like,
that was a great show. Actually,
I've seen
that's equivalent to WWE.
Like, I mean, to me, it's just a gimmick. I mean, just making money. I understand you got to get, you got to make your millions. You got to, got to put on a show. And, some people are suckers for it. I mean, I can't pay my $50 to watch that. I'd rather watch a primetime fight once every 2 years. It makes me sad as a boxing fan to watch these matches. I know a lot of people are entertained with it, but just because of names and, I want to see this person get knocked out, but it's just not boxing to me. I'd rather watch professional boxers, amateurs, the prelims, anything besides this. I think it's just a waste of time.
Boxing, though, it has done it to itself. It's such a corrupt sport that they've kind of forced their hand like this. They don't get the best matchups at the best times. They don't have somebody properly running the sport. They don't have anybody holding it accountable. And when you do that, these exhibition matches are now going to be even more tasty, as we say, because this YouTube thing is really taking off. These guys already have, like, I don't know how many subscribers Logan Paul has, but it's got to be over at least 5
over
million.
20 million.
So there you go. Quadruple that total. And you know what I mean? So when you have that and you're going against somebody like Mayweather, he's also the all-time great promoter, you're going to get stuff like this. So I think like the Paul brothers have figured out an angle where if you have any talent at all and you're really good at promoting, you have a big fan base, there's a chance that in boxing you can make a lot of money.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that the Paul brothers aren't good, because they're obviously clearly like good more than they're amateur boxers, but they're good.
Weren't they wrestlers though? Or at least Paul, right?
Yeah. Logan was a lost in state finals. Some guy was D1 and I think won a national championship.
Yeah, so he obviously has a wrestling background and stuff. But
they got athletic ability, and they're no joke. I mean, anytime you get in the ring with someone that's been training. I mean, look what happened to Nate Robinson. I mean, he got knocked the hell out. You can tell there's there's athletes, and then there's boxers. There's steps to this game. All of those, and they train 8 hours, 10 hours a day. I mean, that's their job. It's just like anyone that has a professional sport. It's like you think you can just come in and come off the couch, so to speak, and lift weights and run and do some jabs on a heavy bag and a speed bag and jump rope, and all of a sudden you're like, I feel in great shape, I'm ready to box. It's like, dude, they've been doing it for like 20, 15, 30 years. Like, it doesn't work like that. I mean, you might be able to get around. I mean, in boxing, the old saying is, there's a puncher's chance, but in reality, if you can't land the target, then how are you going to land that punch?
It would have been. Could you imagine if Mayweather got knocked? It would, but this what happened there? Hey, let me take this angle to my last part of it. Go ahead, Tyler. If you got a thought.
Logan Paul, his CompuBox numbers were better than Nick Gregor's. He did have 50 pounds on him, but
he did have about 50.
He did have.
And Mayweather was probably trying a lot.
Yeah. Jake and Logan, they both take it seriously. Like, they both train like they are professional boxers. They pay a ton of money to train. They hire great trainers, and they actually take it serious. So them I respect is like, at least they're trying, and they're both, Jake especially knows how to play the bad guy. Like I was talking about Trey Young last week. Like, it's just fun to watch someone just troll people and piss people off. Yeah, exactly. He knows how to sell things.
I want to take it to an angle though, like to other sports, like where we've talked about mismatches and like what we paid for to see. Like I would pay, like back in the day, like I would have paid to see like Kentucky with like the 7 first rounders play like the Sixers or something like that. Like I would have paid to see that, or I would have paid to see like, like the women's team take on this men's team or something like that. Like UConn women take on this like men's team or something. Like I'm kind of into that stuff. And I heard on a podcast, I forget which one, but I thought this was the best idea. I would love it if they did like golf, where you actually had like the US Open, like where it's men's and women's, but the men are playing from their tees and the women are playing from their tees. And just to see how that would actually equal out the golf course, like, and to have an overall like champion, like I would definitely pay for stuff like that. I'm into like paying for like matches that I wouldn't always see. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that stuff?
That I'd be more inclined to watch, because, I mean, boxing.
Would that be interesting?
That's different, but basketball, those are like, I mean, that's not a strength against strength. I mean, it is, but you're not getting punched in the face or in the body. Like, those are things I think you have more of a better chance of actually winning, because you're playing at your, so to speak, like,
it's not physical.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but you're not
playing from the same distance either. So it'd be interesting to see how that played out at a golf course. I always think that'd be funny if the US Open did. They should try to adapt something like that. At least an exhibition of it. I think it'd be fun to see.
Do you guys remember when Taco Bell introduced the double decker? They were trying to do a Shaq versus Hakeem Olajuwon. They were actually it was going to happen, like a Shaq versus Hakeem Olajuwon one-on-one.
Yeah, I do remember that. Like, what happened?
Shaq was the hard taco and Hakeem was the soft like taco. Then the promotion, I think Hakeem got hurt or something. But I'd watch that. Like, I think like basketball. Like, what if you had Michael Jordan versus LeVar Ball? Like,
I mean, people watch the rookie sophomore game, and that's just exhibition basketball.
Tyler, you just totally reminded me. Do you remember? It's a little off base here, but the Taco Bell. Remember when Nikola Jokic was picked? They didn't even show his face. They showed a Taco Bell commercial promoting the quesarito.
I don't remember that.
I do not remember that.
That is good knowledge there, sir. Very good knowledge. So, anyways,
he looks like a Taco Bell. Like, he should be their sponsor. Like, they should have got on this years ago.
I wanted to bring up that boxing, the celebrity thing, because I just find like the sport is in a really interesting spot, and like the promotion of the sport's in an interesting spot. And for it to get back to something legitimate, some real legitimacy, they're going to need real boxers to also be able to promote the sport better, maybe out of a book like the Jake Paul's and them, because if not, they're just not, and they got to be able to get the best fights at the best time. That's what the UFC's, at least they're able to do, is they're able to usually get their best guys going at the best time, usually. And so I think that's where boxing is kind of frustrating for me. I could see these exhibition matches not really stopping. I mean, nobody's paying for these Aaron Carter ones, basically. Oh, not too,
No.
but there'll be better ones. There's going to be celebrities that will train and have better fights with it. So anyways, I thought it was an interesting topic for us to bring up.
There is a good boxing match coming up in Pacquiao versus Errol Spence. That should be very fun.
How old is Pacquiao? 58 now? I didn't see it. Was he 40? Yeah,
He just knocked out Keith Thurman in his last fight.
He's got to be at least 43, right?
He's 42.
Okay, he's got to be getting into this.
The best fight that will be coming out if they rematch it will be Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko.
And what was the last guy you said? I mean, that's his name. Lovachenko? What's his name?
Yeah, Lomachenko.
Did he win? Didn't he lose finally?
He lost the
Teofimo.
Yeah, that is what I remember there. So, Casey's the boxing expert. People, he's the Max Kellerman of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. Without the, he brings the knowledge to it. He knows the players there. Tyler does as well a little bit. So, I don't know. Good podcast today, guys. You got any more thoughts on anything else, or are we good to go?
Good to go.
We're good.
Yep.
Get
All
this
right. Well,
barbecue. Get this
Tyler,
barbecue going.
yes, that is. Tyler, easier on Twitter this week. They'll be pissing people.
Fucking business.
Keep ruffling those feathers there. All right, gentlemen. Tyler, we'll get that baseball one out later tonight. Casey, enjoy the basketball games. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Right.